The following podcast is a Scrum Inc. production.
Hi, I'm JJ Sutherland, CEO of Scrum Inc., and welcome to the season finale of the Agile CEO. We started this season with a question that I hear all the time. Is Agile dead? And as we've seen from the stories and insights that we've shared, Agile is definitely not dead. If anything, it's evolving in ways that even a few years ago we couldn't have imagined. You know, we don't ask if gravity is going out of style or Newton's laws of motion. Agile, like the laws of physics, is based on fundamental principles. It's about the ability to adapt, to test, to rethink, and to keep moving forward. Agile is more relevant than ever for leaders who are looking to solve real-world problems with speed and resilience. And if the stories we've heard this season tell us anything, it's that Agile is a tool leaders are using to navigate some of the toughest challenges of our time. So, in this final episode of Season 1, we're going to walk back through some of the most valuable insights and stories that we've heard. This season has shown us that Agile isn't just a methodology, it's an entire way of thinking and working that's driving impact across industries and domains, whether in tech, government, healthcare, or logistics. One question I asked every guest this season was, what was your aha moment when you realized Agile was the answer for what you were trying to do? That point where they realized it wasn't just another framework or buzzword, but a fundamental way to work and lead. Since we've been asking everyone else, I figured I'd share mine too. To get to that aha moment, I have to go to Iraq. From 2004 to 2011, I was Baghdad bureau chief for NPR, and I'd spent about half my year in Iraq and about half my year back in DC doing, whatever. So one of the times I was back in DC, my editor asked me, there's all these things that happen in Iraq, all these explosions, all this stuff gets blown up. But what happens to the stuff? We've talked about Iraqis, we've talked about the U.S. Army, we've talked about military strategy, but what happens to the stuff? And I said, I don't know. Let me go find out. And I found out that a lot of it ends up at the Red River Army Depot near Texarkana, Texas. Now, it's in East Texas, and there is a whole lot of nothing in East Texas. But the Red River Army Depot employs about 2,000 people. It's the economic engine of the area. And only one person on the depot has a uniform. Everyone else is civilian, unionized workforce, classic. So when the war kicked off in 2003, the Red River Army Depot could fix something like 3 Humvees a week. And during that time, when the war started from 2004, 2007, 2008, there were 100 attacks a day in Baghdad alone. If you're fixing 3 Humvees a week, that's not going to cut it. And so the Pentagon was actually going to shut it down, outsource it, call it a day. But the colonel in charge didn't want that to happen. He didn't want to get rid of all these jobs. And so he went to GM and he went to Ford and he put in a lean production line. And if you've never seen one of those, definitely Google it, watch one on YouTube. The parts sort of float through the air magically and show up at just the right time. The person just turns and it's there. And they went from 3 a week to more than 40 a day. And they didn't change the people. Now, my father had been going on about process improvement and all this kind of stuff for years at this point. I finally called him up from the motel room I was staying at in Texarkana and said, this continuous improvement thing that you've been talking about, maybe you're onto something. And so I went back to Baghdad and I did some Agile things. We had, daily stand-ups. I put a board up to make the work visible and that kind of thing, but it wasn't full on Scrum. I didn't do that until the Arab Spring in 2011. The Arab Spring reached Egypt, like January 25th, something like that, late January 2011. And I saw the protests going on in Tahrir Square, and I was in DC at the time. And I called up the desk and I said, do you want me to go? Because this looks like it's going to be a big story. And they said, no, we're going to fly in the Jerusalem correspondent to work with the Cairo correspondent because we don't know how big it's going to be. So, let's see what happens over the weekend. And so the Jerusalem correspondent flies in. And over the weekend, these two correspondents, well, it might shock you to know that broadcast correspondents have egos and often don't play well together. There's only so much airtime. And so then it was that Sunday, and the desk did call me up and said, get on a plane, fly to Cairo. This thing is going to be huge. These people are fighting and missing deadlines. Fix that problem. Plus, we're flying in another, few reporters and some producers, and your job is to make sure this happens. So I was the senior producer on the ground, and I arrived in the middle of the night at the Cairo airport, and all these tourists were fleeing, and I'm sitting there in baggage claim, and there was a dusk to dawn curfew, so I couldn't leave the airport for a few hours. And I'm sitting there in baggage claim, and I thought to myself, the only way I think I can do this is with Scrum. But I can't tell them I'm doing it because journalists, business process, phooey. And so I got to the hotel room overlooking Tahrir Square, and I just got out Post-it notes, and I said, what's the most important thing we can do today? All right, we need a live hit from the square. What's the next most important thing? And so on, making the work visible. And we had daily stand-ups every sprint. Well, we were doing 12-hour sprints. So we would have morning and evening for the morning show and the evening show. And our definition of done was that it hit the air. And what stunned me was this group of fractious individuals became a team in just a few days. It blew my mind. And we would do things like we'd have a retro, and I didn't call it a sprint retrospective. I'd say, okay, morning edition is over. What could have gone better? What's slowing us down? And it could be, we need a better hit on the satellite. How about, some more, more microphone cables, or one of our correspondents got picked up by the secret police, that's slowing us down. That's one thing they don't teach you how to do in journalism school, how to get someone out of the Mukhabarat jail. Anyone in that circumstance, the defense attaché at the American embassy was the one that helped me out. So that was my aha moment, was when I saw it work in real time with real impact. And we were moving so fast because events were moving so fast. Blew my mind. So that was my aha moment about Agile, about creating a mindset and a culture of continuous improvement, rapid learning, and responsiveness to change. And what I learned in Cairo is that it works anywhere. So looking back at the season, a few core themes stood out. So I wanted to take you through some of the things I thought were pretty important. The first is start small, but think big. This is something we heard over and over. Start small, think big, go fast. One of the early episodes, Brad Freitag, the CEO of Claris, put this into practice at his company. He talked about implementing Agile within a small team, using it to tackle one of the company's issues. This gave the team the chance to learn fast and adapt it and build a momentum. So it went from one team and then spread throughout the entire organization globally. And Brad talked about how Agile saved the day by helping his team overcome internal resistance. He said that, if you tried to change everything at once, they would have failed. But by tackling one thing and succeeding and getting that right, and then moving on to the next, that's a huge mindset shift. Nothing speaks louder than success. Have conviction. Agile isn't easy, and it's not a quick fix. I often say it's not magic. And so in a conversation with Ganesh Jayaram at American Airlines, you heard the real conviction he has to lead an Agile transformation, especially when things get tough. So he talked about how he used it to address deeply rooted patterns of behavior and ways of working, both at John Deere, which is when I really worked closely with him, and now at American Airlines. He said it was really hard work. It didn't just happen automatically. But he said you had to get through that and go through the steps. Keep on moving. He put it simply. He says, if you're going to try to drive Agile without conviction, don't bother. You're going to meet resistance, and you have to be ready to see it through. That's something you really need to think about. when you're doing an Agile transformation. Focus on fundamentals. It's the third one I was thinking about. My friend and partner at Bain, Daryl Rigby, talked about the power of Agile is really rooted in its fundamentals, building collaborative, self-organizing teams and focusing on continuous learning. And Daryl said, focus on continuous outcomes, not just the process. Yes, you do want to do Agile. Yes, there are frameworks. Yes, Scrum is a framework, but it's for an outcome. It's not for itself. Don't do Agile to be Agile. Do Agile to get somewhere. The other thing that I talk to my father, Jeff Sutherland, about all the time is that AI is not just coming, it's here. And you need to embrace AI as a new partner on your team, because he's really been at the forefront of integrating AI and Agile. And he said, you have to think of AI as a valuable teammate. You can offload routine tasks. You can free up the humans to do what humans are good at and let the robots do what robots are good at. And it's a force multiplier of massive proportions. AI is serious. And to take advantage of AI, you have to be agile, reacting, learning, implementing fast. If you're not bringing AI into your Agile process, you're falling behind. So we have also, the thing I wanted to mention is that we've asked everyone, what is your advice to leaders doing an Agile transformation? Lead by example. They all said it's not enough to tell the organization to behave and work in an Agile fashion. You have to do it too. You have to change the way you work, the way you lead your organization. Be patient but persistent. Change doesn't happen overnight. It does take time. There will be setbacks, but continually do it, getting a little bit better. Every sprint will add up, because you have to have this room for continuous learning. Because the best leaders I know are those who never stop learning. Agile isn't just a process. It's a mindset of constant improvement. Make sure you're creating space for yourself so you can keep learning. It's so easy as a leader to reach the end of your day. This happens to me. And you've been in 15 meetings as everyone wants a piece of your time, and you haven't actually thought. You haven't sat down and say, what did I learn? How can I get better? It's critical that you carve out time to allow yourself to do that. So as we close out this first season of the Agile CEO, I want to thank you for joining us on this journey. You've listened, learned, and hopefully taken some new ideas back to your teams and organization. Over the last 7 episodes, we've seen that Agile is more than a framework. It's a mindset and a way of working that helps us tackle even the most complex challenges. To the leaders who are tuning in, I hope this season has shown you that Agile isn't just for tech teams or startups. It's adaptable, it's resilient, and it's here to help you create the future you want for your organization. Doesn't matter if you're managing a healthcare lab, leading in manufacturing, or heading up strategy in a financial company. The principles of Agile can help you make impactful change where they matter most, where they can drive your outcomes to done. And remember, you're not on this journey alone. A trusted partner like Scrum Inc. can help you define and achieve your goals and reach your outcomes with a tailored approach to Agile. As we move into 2025, consider the possibilities that Agile can open for you and your teams. Now, looking forward to season 2, which will drop in the new year, we're excited to bring you more conversations with leaders and innovators across the world who've been applying Agile in unique and powerful ways. We'll explore how Agile is reshaping fields that are going to surprise you: public policy, education, even the arts. And I'd love to know what you would like to hear next season. Is there someone you would like me to talk to? Because I want to make it even more relevant to your world. If you've enjoyed this season, you think it was good, or you think it was bad, please take a moment to review the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Of course, you know that 5 stars is the proper number of stars. No, I'm just kidding. So we've got a special thank you for you. If you leave a review, take a screenshot and send it to us at marketing@scruminc.com. We'll send you a free digital copy of the new 10th anniversary edition of Scrum, The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time. So stay tuned. Agile isn't just alive, it's evolving. And with each of us willing to learn, adapt, and improve, it will continue to deliver results for leaders like you.
The Agile CEO is brought to you by Scrum Inc. Thank you for joining us for the first season of the podcast. As JJ mentioned, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and email it to marketing@scruminc.com. As a thank you, we'll send you a free digital copy of the 10th anniversary edition of the Red Book. And if you're ready to bring agility to your organization, now is the perfect time to get started. Contact us through our website and mention the Agile CEO for special end-of-year pricing on our consulting services. Stay tuned for Season 2 in the new year. Until then, keep learning, adapting, and thriving.